Welcome to worship with St. Andrew's Lutheran Church of Grand Rapids, Minnesota. Welcome to all of those of you who are in person here. Always good to see you here. Welcome to those of you who are worshiping online. I'm glad that you have found us able to worship in this way. For those of you who are online, if you would like to leave a comment in the feed that lets us know that you are here, it gives us the opportunity who are here in person to respond to you in more or less real time as well. So I encourage that kind of conversation, those kind of greetings to be happening even within the sanctuary here. As I've said a lot in this time of hybrid worship, I won't judge anybody if I see a phone come out. I assume you're talking to someone online, welcoming them to worship, and not just, what's the game now? Not playing Wordle. Anyways, for those of you in person or online, if you'd like to make a donation to support the ministries of this congregation, you can go to our website, which is saintand.org, and there is a donate button there. There are also offering plates in the back of the aisles. Couple of announcements. The Living Waters Conference of the Women of the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America. It's a long title. We used to say WELCA, but they don't like that anymore. Women of the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America. It's having a gathering, a spring gathering at Camp Hiawatha, which is just a few miles away from where we are right now, this Saturday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Part of that experience will be the Stations of the Cross. So if you want more information about that, there's a flyer on the kiosk in the lobby area. I encourage all women to consider being part of that. Holy Week is upon us. This Sunday is already Palm Sunday as we focus on Jesus' arrival in the city, the holy city of Jerusalem. Worship Sunday mornings, always 9 o'clock. I shouldn't say always because it's different for Easter, but on Palm Sunday it's the usual time at 9 o'clock. Monday, Thursday is the next piece of the worship schedule. That's Thursday, April the 14th. The focus on Monday, Thursday is on the commandments of Jesus, 2 commandments, to do this in remembrance of me, which is communion, and then also the commandment to love one another as I have loved you. So that's Thursday. Very next day, Good Friday, the day we focus upon the suffering, the trial, and the death of Jesus. That worship service is also at 6 o'clock. Hope you can be part of all that. And then, and only then, because in order for there to be a resurrection, there must be a death. After Good Friday, and you get through Holy Saturday, Easter Sunday, resurrection. We have worship. You got to write this down or think about it. We have worship at 8 and 10:30 with Easter breakfast served in between from 9 to 10:30. So make plans to be part of Easter, but make plans to be part of all of Holy Week, because, again, you can't have a resurrection without there being a death. All right, turning to today's worship, tonight's worship, our liturgy, as has been our custom, is Holden evening prayer. The words will be on the screens. If you want, the notes, booklets are available in the lobby area. Tonight our cantor is David Cohen. He made I won't call it a mistake. You shared in your faith story that you sing. And Eileen Grossland, who is on the piano tonight, quickly recruited Dave. So thank you. Thank you. Eileen's on piano. Barb Linder is sharing part of her faith story tonight. So as we continue that series, looking forward to that. Cindy Busby is our lector this evening, and Kim Jampgard is in the control booth. And with that, let's pause and center ourselves as we prepare to worship.
Thank you. let your light scatter the darkness.
Please stand.
Blessed are you, Creator of the universe. From old you have led your people by night and day. May the light of your Christ make our darkness bright. For your word and your presence are the light of our pathways, and you are the light and life of all creation. Okay, for this next one, we typically split down the half on this side and this side, but tonight we're going to do something fun and new and different. We're going to do, the men will sing the first part, and the women will sing the second part. So men, will start with me, and we'll join in on the second part, okay? Before you, the lifting up of my hands as an offering.
May our prayers come before you, O God, as incense, and may your presence surround and fill us, so that in union with all creation we might sing your praise and your love in our lives. Please be seated.
The first Bible reading this evening is from 2 Corinthians, chapter 9, verses 5 through 15. As we continue to ponder one mark of discipleship each of these Wednesdays in Lent, tonight we come to generous giving. In our first reading, the Apostle Paul is giving a community of faith a heads up that he is actually coming to pick up the financial donations they had promised. He teaches that our giving should be voluntary, abundant, generous, and joyful. A reading from 2 Corinthians. Now I'm sending the brothers to make sure you're ready, as I said you would be, so my bragging won't turn out to be just so much hot air. If some Macedonians and I happened to drop in on you and found you weren't prepared, we'd all be pretty red-faced, you and us, for acting so sure of ourselves. So to make sure there will be no slip-up, I've recruited these brothers as an advance team to get you and your promised offering all ready before I get there. I want you to have all the time you need to make this offering in your own way. I don't want anything forced or hurried at the last minute. Remember, a stingy planter gets a stingy crop. A lavish planter gets a lavish crop. I want each of you to take plenty of time to think it over and make up your own mind what you will give. That will protect you against sob stories and arm twisting. God loves it when the giver delights in the giving. God can pour on the blessings in astonishing ways so that you're ready for anything and everything, more than just ready to do what needs to be done. As one psalmist puts it, he throws caution to the winds, giving to the needy in reckless abandon. His right living, right giving ways never run out, never wear out. This most generous God who gives seed to the farmer that becomes bread for your meals is more than extravagant with you. He gives you something you can then give away, which grows into full-formed lives, robust in God, wealthy in every way, so that you can be generous in every way, producing with us great praise to God. Carrying out this social relief work involves far more than helping meet the bare needs of the poor Christians. It also produces abundant and bountiful thanksgivings to God. This relief offering is a prod to live at your very best, showing your gratitude to God by being openly obedient to the plain meaning of the message of Christ. You show your gratitude through your generous offerings to your needy brothers and sisters, and really toward everyone. Meanwhile, moved by the extravagance of God in your lives, they'll respond by praying for you in passionate intercession for whatever you need. Thank God for this gift, his gift. No language can praise it enough. The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
The second Bible reading is from Matthew chapter 6, verses 19 through 21. In this second reading, Jesus teaches us a very basic principle. Your heart, your allegiance will be with whatever you support financially. A reading from Matthew. Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth. Your moth and rust consume, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust consumes, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
An angel went from God Nazareth to a woman whose name was Mary. The angel said to her, "Rejoice, O highly favored, for God is with you. You shall bear a child, and his name shall be Jesus, the chosen one of God Most High." And Mary said, "I am the servant of my God. I live to do your will." My soul proclaims your greatness, O God, and my spirit rejoices in you. You have looked with love on your servant here, and blessed me all my life through. Great and mighty are you, O Holy One. Strong is your kindness evermore. How you favor the weak and Holy One, humbling the proud of heart. You have cast the mighty down from their thrones, and have lifted the humble of heart. You have filled the hungry with wondrous things, and left the wealthy no want. Great and mighty are you, O faithful one. Strong is your justice, strong your love. As you promised to Sarah and Abraham, kindness forevermore. My soul proclaims your greatness, O God, and my spirit rejoices in you. You have looked with love on your servant here, and blessed me all my life
Yep, I'm another Catholic turned Lutheran. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Barb Linder. I grew up in Stearns County, central Minnesota, on a dairy farm. My parents were staunch Catholics and German. With that said, I was the last of 9 kids, born to David and Carol Heinze. I was baptized, had my first reconciliation, first communion, confirmed and married at the St. Peter and Paul Catholic Church in El Rosa. Growing up, we did not miss church unless we were puking. It was the only excuse. Nothing else mattered. The cattle waited, everything. You went to church. So we did. On the farm, my entire 18 years while at home, we always ate together as a family. We always said the prayer before meals, of course, the Catholic version. Though I don't recall ever praying the rosary together with the family at home, we always said the rosary before church, before Mass. It was a time where everybody went to church 15 minutes early, and they all prayed the rosary together. We even made our own rosaries in youth group or at religion class, which was actually kind of fun. Throughout elementary, junior high, and then high school, I always went to religion classes in my little town of El Rosa. Every year, starting in first grade, we had to learn prayers. Each grade, new prayers were added. We had to memorize them. We were tested. Even in first grade, we were. So the exciting part about learning our prayers was we got gold stars, which was kind of funny because, back then, that's what we got, and we were excited about it. My mom was a religion coordinator for grades K through 12. She made sure everyone had what they needed, and she taught my confirmation class as well. I was mortified that my mom was my teacher for confirmation. She taught most of my siblings too, so why not me too, I guess. At that time, I really didn't enjoy having her to be my teacher, but really, it didn't hurt me at all. It allowed me to see her faith on a different level. So if you have an opportunity to be part of your child's FINK experience, give it a try. It won't be so bad. After I was confirmed as a 10th grader, my mom said I couldn't just stop with religion classes. I did make a deal with her to be the 4th grade helper. After I was confirmed, I was 16, about a 10th grader. I followed these kids through 6th grade throughout until I was a senior as their helper. It was a lot of fun for me to get to know these crazy kids. In the fall and spring when the temps were warm, my sister Rose and my good friend Heidi would bring our tennis rackets with to religion class. There was a tennis court where we had religion. The fun part was our young priest, Father Leroy, would also bring his tennis racket. So afterwards, after our classes were over and we were waiting for my mom, we would try to beat Father Leroy. I don't know if we ever did. He was pretty good. One of the saints that I learned about from my mom was St. Anthony. He was the finder of lost things. Boy, has he been good to me. I think I pray to St. Anthony probably almost daily. I even pray for others who tell me, oh yeah, I lost this thing. And then I always tell them, pray to St. Anthony. And they're like, who's that? I said, okay, I'll just say a prayer quick. And believe it or not, they always find what they need. So he's my definite go-to saint. Anyway, up until this point, I never really questioned my faith. Catholicism was all I knew. Pretty much everyone in my little town of El Rosa was Catholic. When I was 16, that all changed one August day. My FFA advisor and I were heading down to my oats field to measure for an FFA project. As we were driving down to the field, I clearly remember telling Mr. Rogers, oh, Carl is out on the four-wheeler. He went to the field and headed back when we were done. We went to the field and headed back as we were going by the field where we saw Carl earlier. We both saw one of the worst sights ever. The four-wheeler was tipped over on its side, and we couldn't see Carl. Immediately, Mr. Rogers ran over to Carl. He was medically trained, and he started CPR. I took Mr. Rogers' car and drove to find his parents, and of course, to call 911. It was milking time for Carl's family. Having to tell Carl's mom that he was in a four-wheeler accident in the field directly across from their barn was one of the worst things that I had to do. Next, the worst thing I had to do was dial 911 and got nothing. The 911 system was down that day, and nobody knew. I phoned Carl's brother Ryan and told him to call Father Leroy. Well, I tried to get help. I drove home, which was about a mile away, to try to call 911, not knowing the system was down. My mom, as smart as she always is, she thought to call somebody on the rescue squad from El Rosa, which was about 3 miles away. We got a hold of somebody on the fire department, and the rescue squad was dispatched. Mind you, at least 20 minutes have passed with Mr. Rogers working on Carl. By the time the ambulance arrived from Sauk Center, Carl was resuscitated, but was in rough shape. Somehow, Carl was trapped face down underneath the four-wheeler, We will never know how long he was trapped underneath there from the time the accident actually happened. Carl's parents ended up taking him off of life support 10 days after no brain activity. I was fortunate to get to see Carl in the ICU before he passed away. It was a sight I will never forget and hope I never have to experience again. This is when I first thought about why God would allow this to happen to such a good kid, 10 years old. God always has a plan. Over the years, I have lost numerous dear people to my heart from cancer, and the latest was my brother-in-law with ALS. It was always interesting how my faith was able to be there during these trying times to help hold you up. Fast forward now to my college days at the University of Minnesota Crookston, where I met my husband, Sean. This was my opportunity to sleep in on Sundays and not go to church. Well, that didn't last too long. I was being nudged to join the campus ministry club. I joined and I loved it. This is the club in which we truly got to be ourselves, have fun, and talk about our faith. This club got me going back to church during college on my own. A year after college graduation, Sean and I got married back at my hometown Catholic church. Sean was Lutheran and I was Catholic. We made it through that. Getting married by the Catholic Church. We made it through. It was good. 2 years after being married, we were blessed with a healthy, premature Andy. We were ecstatic. 2 years after Andy, we were blessed once more with the arrival of Eric. At this time, we were still attending St. Joe's Catholic Church here in town. Both boys were baptized, had their first reconciliation and first communion here. It was when Andy was in 6th grade that I decided it was time to make a change. Although I volunteered teaching Sunday school, I never felt like I fit in or was appreciated by the clergy of what I gave through volunteering at St. Joe's. Sean was very supportive of this, as was the boys, especially Sean, because Sean was Lutheran. Still, he never converted, which was okay. We never had an issue with that. We were going to shop around for a church, but ended up going to one service recommended by Tammy Kotke, Rally Sunday in September of Andy's 7th grade year, 6 years ago. We were welcomed that day by Pastor Dave and Pastor Megan with open arms. At that time, we decided it was time to make St. Andrews our new home. Since joining St. Andrews, I got roped into being a Fink guide a year after coming here. Nobody says no to Pastor Dave or to Myrna. Andy's 8th grade confirmation class needed a guide. By this time, I was ready to stop watching what was going on in this new Lutheran church that I was learning about and decided to join in. I would be working with Myrna Peterson, who was the 8th grade girls Fink guide. Andy was not thrilled. I didn't mind. He eventually just rolled with it because that's just how he is. I have to say that Myrna and I were quite the dynamic duo. We still are. We had so much fun with these kids, and probably my favorite event that we did was playing bingo for Dollar Tree prizes. Who would have thought that 8th grade kids would get so excited? We were so loud that night. I stayed with this group until they got confirmed. After this group of Andy's friends was done with Fink, Myrna and I decided to take on the incoming 7th graders, who are now the 9th graders. What a joy this group has been for me to work with. These kids are like literally the best. I've learned a lot over the years. Number one, candy does work. Our kids always get their paperwork in for candy. Number two, these kids are resilient. Number three, no one tells Myrna no. How could we? She's just amazing. 3 years ago, Pastor Dave changed how Fink was being presented. It kind of morphed into Recharge Wednesday. The kids got to go to church every Wednesday with some super fun music, learn about the Bible, and get to end their evening with solace during the final 15 minutes of the night. This service has turned into my go-to service. It not only was recharging the kids, it was recharging me too. My job has been quite challenging the last 15 months, extremely stressful. One way to make it through was to go to Recharge Wednesdays. The stresses from work would get me so wound up, I had to do something to unwind. I found that need being met with Recharge, especially the final 15. Numerous times I told my boss that I couldn't work late because I needed to go to church to put my attitude in check. Luckily, he was very supportive. He knew I was crabby. Thursdays were always better for me at work and when I could get back to Recharge service. If I could give you any piece of advice from my experiences here at St. Andrew's, please take these into consideration. Volunteer for the Spud Shack in the summer. Who knew you could work and meet with so many great people? Number 2, volunteer to help during a church service. My go-to is the Altar Guild, and in my opinion, my communion bread is the best. If you know the kids are cooking, join in. You will learn more about them, and they will learn about you. A valuable connection will be made. Number 4, go to at least one Recharge Wednesday service. Be sure to stay for the final 15. You won't regret it. God always has a plan and is always evolving. Take time to sit back and enjoy what is in front of you.
God of mercy, hold us in love. In peace, we pray to you. For peace and salvation, we pray to you. For peace between nations, for peace between peoples. For we who are gathered to worship and praise you. For all of your servants who live out your gospel. For all those who govern, that justice might guide them. For all those who labor in service to others. Grant weather that nourishes all of creation. Keep watch on our loved ones and keep us from danger.
God, remember us in your love and teach us to pray.
Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done, on earth as in heaven. Give us today our daily bread. Forgive us our sins, as we forgive those who sin against us. Save us from the time of trial, and deliver us from evil. For the kingdom, the power, and the glory are yours, now and forever. Amen.
Let us bless our God. Praise and thanks to you. May God Creator bless us and keep us. May Christ be ever light for our lives. May the Spirit of love be our guide and path for all of our days.
Go in peace, serve the Lord.